Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Obioma, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Oh, welcome. Okay, so we are set to start. I missed the time. I miscalculated. I started an hour earlier, so Vanessa had to tell me, so I had to
Okay,
end it and restart again. You're welcome.
thank you very much.
Okay, are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so let's start off right away. Okay, if you're just joining us, this I want to welcome you to the second podcast in a series of Women Major Group during the High Level Political Forum 2023. And it is tagged Feminist Voices, a Global Conversation. And this podcast series is a media advocacy by Women Major Group to amplify women voices to demand for their rights as the High Level Political Forum is focusing on accelerating the recovery from the coronavirus disease and the full implementation of 2030 agenda for sustainable development at all levels. We are halfway through the SDGs. What is the impact? What has the SDG done for women? Specifically looking at sexual and reproductive health and rights and gender equality. Have the SDG been localized enough to enable women to demand for its full implementation from government and private businesses? Are the SDGs achievable by year 2030 to enable women in their diversity to enjoy sexual and reproductive health and rights and gender equality and social inclusion? These are questions we want our state and non-state actors to reflect on as a guide as the voluntary national review takes place. One of the messages or advocacy messages of Women Major Group in this year's High Level Political Forum 2023 is to government, private business, and other stakeholders. This year's HLPF is to advance sexual and reproductive health and rights and gender equality. So, in this podcast series today, we are looking at this particular message and we are asking, we'll be looking together with my guests, sexual and reproductive health and rights and gender equality, challenges and prospects. Challenges and prospects. Well, you can see that I'm not the only one live. I have a darling, beautiful sister here with me. Okay, so she is no other person than Obioma Chkwuike. Yeah, am I getting it right?
Yes,
Obioma Chkwuike. Is it Chkwuike?
yes, Chukike, but my pronouns are they, them, not she, her.
Oh, there, yes, sorry, apologies.
It's okay.
Okay, Obioma Chkwuike, I'm sorry, I missed that. Okay, she's the Executive Director of Intersex Nigeria, Center for Healthcare Development and Youth Empowerment, and also the co-chair of Africa Intersex Movement. Obioma, you're welcome to this podcast series.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Thank you for having
so
me.
we do not have much time, but meanwhile, let me talk to those following us live. If you are following us live, please do well to also participate in this conversation by dropping your comments, your questions on the comment section. If there are something that Obioma will address, you will address. If it's something we'll address later as the progresses, we'll also address it as a key issue. So Obioma, we are looking at SDGs halfway. Almost we are 2030 is by the corner. What are the key challenges to sexual and reproductive health and rights and gender equality? What are the key challenges?
Thank you very much. Just like you mentioned, the SDG is halfway gone. And from the opening statement at the General Assembly, we can hear that it's only about 12% that has been achieved so far. That it should show you the margin that is, that is separating us from achieving our goal. And part of the reasons why we have so much margin in actualization is because of the different challenges that I might throw some light on. One of it is exclusion. There has been a serious notice of exclusion of different minority groups in achieving sustainable development goals. Because when we're talking about sustainable development agenda, we know that the first reason why it was created was to, remove people from hunger, poverty, and also to develop all humans, in quotes, all humans. And in doing this, that means every human is meant to be on the table. Every representative of different groups, diverse groups, women groups, LGBTQI groups, disability group, child rights groups, everyone should be part of it. And looking at how the implementation and of the initiatives of the sustainable development initiatives have been happening for the past first half of the implementation, you'll find out that most of these groups have not been brought to the table actively to participate and also to make their own mark on where the challenges, on what we have about 17 goals of the agenda, to know where their own goals set more and what are the specific country, national, and environmental issues that face them. Some persons might have serious issues around water and sanitation, while some persons might have serious issues on housing. But if you do not bring everybody that is needed on the table, you find out that there will be challenges around it. And the second challenge, I must say, is the natural pandemic that we experienced in the last, we have been experiencing because COVID-19 has not gone totally. The pandemic also affected hugely on the progress of the SDG, because we know that the whole world was totally shut down from 2020 to 2021. It affected every nations across the planet. So that was another huge challenge that has hindered the progress of the Sustainable Development Goals in being actualized. I would say that is another major blow that we're experiencing. uh, then another challenge that I would say that is causing us not to progress as much as we want to progress is the financing of these initiatives. Because even in the opening of the speech during the General Assembly of the high-level political forum, you realize that there was a serious concern about financing the initiatives that will advance different goals of the sustainable development goal of the sustainable development goals. And you find out that there are still limitations, insufficient resources and funds to carry out these initiatives to places that it matters most. Because a lot of in as much as we are trying to progress with the sustainable development goals, we'll find out that there are still natural disasters happening here and there. There are still a lot of challenges, war happening here and there, and a lot of internal disputes in different nations across the globe. So I also say that there have been political dynamics, which has also affected the progress of the sustainable development goals, and is the reason why the high-level political forum is looking at different goals this year on how to critically look at them and progress the initiatives, because the different dynamics around the world on political grounds has affected a lot of progress that we have made collectively. Because to actually progress the sustainable development goals, we need a lot of collaboration, we need a lot of partnership across movements, across sectors, and across different institutions to ensure that this initiative gets to where it's meant to get to and the interventions are happening appropriately as it should happen. So I would say that there haven't been a lot of synergy, collaboration, and partnership in ensuring that different sustainable development goals initiatives are being carried out and implemented in different countries, especially when it comes to Global South. Global South are always left behind when it comes to the progress of sustainable development goals. You can see what is happening in Africa and across the Latin America, Asia, and all that. So I will say that these are like my major highlights of the challenges that we're facing in being progressive in the implementation of the sustainable development goal, as it should be related to advancing sexual reproductive health and rights and gender equality, because the sustainable development goals is a key issue in actually pushing for sexual reproductive health and rights and gender equality of different diverse groups, not just women groups, all diverse groups that have been left out, leaving no one behind, has been a major challenge. So I think if we look at how we can bring in more major stakeholders, it will also help to actually advance the progress of sexual reproductive health and rights and gender equality. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Obioma. That has been very the detailed. You just you just wrap the challenges, giving them, and funny enough, each of the challenge, each one has its own subheading. Well, we'll look at that as the conversation progresses. So, but what are the opportunities now? We have talked about the challenges. What are the opportunities available for advancing sexual and reproductive health, rights, and gender equality? Because you have already talked about social inclusion, because exclusion as one of the issues. So now we want to find out what are those opportunities available for advancing sexual and reproductive health and rights.
Well, I would say that one of the opportunities we have is human resources. The advancing sexual reproductive health and rights and gender equality requires human resources, and that is what we have as most minority groups who are canvassing for inclusion in these spaces and inclusion in the progress of sexual reproductive health and rights and gender equality. And when we're talking about gender equality, we're talking about diverse groups of persons who have been marginalized, the intersex groups, women groups, the transgender people, the non-binary people, and other group of persons who have their voices have not been heard. So I would say social inclusion is important, and we have the human resources within our space to do that. And another opportunity that we can leverage on is partnership. There's a lot of cross-movement partnership that is happening and are still happening, and that is another leverage for us to actually come together as groups and say, what can we do together to actually progress the sexual reproductive health and rights of diverse groups of persons? Because if we do not come together and identify our common issues, our common goals, we'll find out that we'll be working in silos and we cannot achieve much. But I know that there's a lot of organizing that is happening, and there's a lot of conversation that is happening. So these are the opportunities that we can collectively finance together, looking at our strengths, what are the things that we can cross-learn, what are the things that we can co-create together to actually open up more spaces that our voices can be heard and we can be brought to the table to bring more progress into the issues that affect diverse groups of persons around sexual reproductive health and rights and gender equality. Because at the end of the day, without gender equality being achieved, I don't think the sustainable development goal is going to be achieved.
Okay, okay, thank you very much, Obioma. Okay, Paraventure, you're just joining the live podcast. We are talking with Obioma, and we are looking at how to advance, we are looking at the issues around sexual and reproductive health and rights and gender equality. What are the challenges and what are the prospects? And Obioma has been telling us a whole lot of things, even though some we know, but some are just emerging and new ideas, strategies on how to engage further. Okay, Obioma, so what are some of the successes? Because you have told us, given us some insight on what we can do, opportunities that are valuable. Now, looking at these opportunities that are valuable, what are the successes for people that have done, maybe they have not done it at a wider scale, maybe they program a little. What are those successes so that people can also learn and also scale it up in their various areas? So what are the successes that have been achieved in advancing sexual and reproductive health and rights and gender equality?
Well, I know that we have challenges, but at the
Yeah.
same time, there have been progress, there have been success. And one of the successes is that there has been um, how will I put it now? They have been sprung up of different different emerging groups who have been silent over the years, who have not been in the forefront and bringing their voices, making their voices heard about their issues and challenges as regards to body autonomy, self-determination, and all that. For instance, the intersex visibility is becoming more and more pronounced than it used to be. For instance, the women rights are more progressive. The women rights have always been progressive, but they are beginning to organize in smaller groups in countries, and also regionally to also talk about how their challenges are connected to different developmental issues. So I would say the successes are organizing. Organizing has been happening, and that is like a huge success for us because that is how we are able to identify what has been done and the gaps and what can be done better. So organizing is one thing I've seen that has been key success across different groups. Another success is how we have been empowering our community. The younger generation, including myself, have been empowered, giving us spaces to be able to participate. Like for instance, I've been in New York and the UN headquarters, participating in the high-level political meeting. I even gave an intervention at the General Assembly where I talked about inclusion of LGBTQI persons in Sustainable Development Goal. And for me, it's a huge success for me because I feel like young persons like me, I represent young persons like me who have been left behind so long, and my voices have been heard. So I think giving opportunities to younger generation has also opened up more spaces for inclusion. And I can also say that there has been a lot of cross learning, even though we still speak about it that we need more of it, but there's this intergenerational learning between experienced advocates and activists and younger emerging advocates and activists. They have been working in collaboration to understand what has happened in the past and what can be done better. So I can say that empowering our communities has been like a major success to seeing a lot of pushbacks to the pushbacks that we're experiencing. So empowering our community has been one of the challenges. Collaborating in organizing has been another success. Then cross-movement collaboration has been another success. Cross-movement organizing has helped to actually hold spaces for each other. So where I'm not able to speak for myself, where I'm not able to talk about my issues, another movement is there doing it for me, and the same vice versa goes for me. So I think holding spaces for each other and holding each other accountable has another been another success. We have seen a lot of opportunities where people have been able to talk about what they have been able to do for the community and able to transcend it to what can be done better. So I also think that another success story is different diverse groups emerging and also holding and also taking up positions. Now, taking up positions is another thing because taking up position helps you to bring more people along with you. So I can say that these are some of the success stories that has emerged over the years, and I also say that there has been an intentional advocacy towards inclusive feminism. That has also been like a success story. I know that there's still a lot of bottlenecks around feminist movements, some feminist movement, but I can also say that I've also witnessed it that some feminist movement and some feminist spaces are becoming more inclusive of gender equality of diverse people. So I know that there's challenges, but I can also say that in that challenges we have seen successes where spaces are opening up more for diverse groups of people to be part of the conversation, to be part of the dialogue, and I can say that is another key success that we have seen over the years.
Okay. Okay, that's quite some successes anyway, if you ask me. So, Obioma, our time is running out already. So, what are some of the tools or strategies that you will recommend for people to use to continue to advance and to continue to get so that tools and strategies we can use to, including me, that we can use to engage government and engage private businesses to be able to support sexual and reproductive health and rights and gender equality. What are some of
Okay,
the tools and strategies? Yeah.
so talking of tools and strategies, I would say that one key tool that we have been doing in the past, but I also think we can scale up, is research and documentation. There are
Okay.
emerging issues that come out every day. We must have done some research in the past to talk about some issues, but there are also dynamics that come into those issues. And also, there are some prejudice that have stereotyping and prejudice that have also reinforced other issues around sexual reproductive health and right and gender equality. So I think more research and documentation is very important to bring out these key issues, to talk about them, and also to clarify how magnitude they are and how we can actually intervene in those areas. So research and documentation is one tool. Another strategy that we can be looking at is how we can actually look into some spaces that we do not think about. There's sometimes as advocates, as people that are into human rights, we also think, oh, we can only work with this sector, we can't work with this sector. But at this point, I think we can come back to the table and say, what are the sectors that we're not looking at? Can we remap our pathways? Can we look at better ways of organizing and collaborating? Because at the end of the day, when you talk about sexual reproductive health and rights, it connects a whole lot of things. And when you talk about gender equality, it connects a whole lot of things, from employment to housing to bodily autonomy and integrity to self-determination So a lot of rights are incorporated in that. Even family planning and all that, healthcare, a lot is incorporated. So what are the sectors that we haven't been engaging much, that we can engage much? I can't say outrightly that we have been engaging more on this and more on that, but it's for us to sit down and say, okay, let's look at where we have been engaging before, that and where we can actually engage more with. So I think that's another strategy that we can use. And another strategy that we can use, conversations. I think it's important that we have more cross movement conversations and dialogues, workshops or conferences where we have cross movements coming in together with common goals and ideologies, or similar goals and ideologies, coming together to sit down on the table and map out how they can actually come together, synergize, and actually make their voices heard and create more visibility around the issues that they face. So I think that's another strategy that we can use to actually improve sexual reproductive health and rights and gender equality of our diverse spaces. Then another thing that I think we have to critically look at is how young persons are engaged. I know I talked about success, about bringing in young persons, but there is also room for improving how we engage young people. Because at the end of the day, the young ones, including myself, are the ones that will carry on whatever the older generation have done. And if we're not
That's true.
properly equipped, if there's no capacity building for us, if there is no resources for us, you'll find out that we will not be able to do it the best way that we could have done it. So I think capacity building for younger generation, even the older generation, because even the older generation used to need to also update on the tools that they use on the strategies. So I think capacity building and strengthening is another key thing, another key tool to us advancing sexual reproductive health and rights and gender equality. And that capacity strengthening also includes mobilization of resources. Mobilization of resources can never be overemphasized, because without resources, most of the things that we are struggling and fighting for will not be achieved. We know how intense advocacy is. Advocacy is capital intensive, and if we are going to succeed in all of our advocacy plans, we need to mobilize more. We need to talk to more philanthropic organizations to come into what we are doing and support us. And also, we need to also create a safe space, a safe and inclusive space for diverse group of persons. Because if we do not create that space, we'll see that some people that have ideas that can work will always shy away to be part of this conversation, because they feel like, oh, this space does not accommodate me. So we have to also be more intentional. We were talking about leaving no one behind in the outer space, in our own inner spaces. Let's also be intentional about leaving no one behind. So I think these are some key tools and strategies that we can also use to improve the fight around sexual reproductive health and rights and gender equality.
Wow. Thank you very much, Obioma. This is very, very detailed. At least with this we can write and write and write and get a lot of books, articles, journals, and the likes to get people to engage in the process. Okay. Well, like I said, our time is now, our friend, but I won't let you go until you tell me what you want government, or tell me what you want government, private businesses, and CSOs to do to promote sexual and reproductive health and rights and gender equality. What do you think the key ask for government, private businesses, CSOs, everybody? What are your key ask?
Okay, so my key ask is this: we have to carry everyone along, because if we're talking about all humans include diverse persons who most governments might see as they're less humans, or might see that they don't understand who this set of people are. We have to bring everyone to the table. Diverse stakeholders and CSOs, we have to find ways to always check out who are we leaving behind, because we're always leaving people behind at the end of the day, and we're all humans. We're all in this together. If it, like for example, when COVID-19 happened, it happened to everybody. It did not happen to some part of persons and left some part of persons. So I think we have to be very intentional, and I think governments have to also open their doors. They have to open their doors, especially the African governments. They have to open their doors to more conversations, to more dialogue. That is also how they will learn how they can do better interventions, because doing it closed doors all the time will not always give you a lot of town hall meetings and town hall meetings that are inclusive, because I know that town hall meetings happen, but more inclusive town hall meetings are very important. And I also advise business tech, the business sector to become more inclusive of sexual reproductive health and rights. Not just saying, oh, it is important that people have body autonomy and self-determine their body, but also being more inclusive in their strategies. I know that business sectors are very big at supporting CSO, supporting movements. They should also look at how they can raise their bar, because I talked about financial support, and most businesses are open to financial support. So they can also look at how are we re-strategizing on our funding, how are we re-strategizing on our inclusiveness in whatever that we are doing. So I think these are my key acts: more open doors, more collaboration, more partnerships, more conversations, more dialogues, and more inclusion into spaces. Thank you.
Wow. Well, if you just join us, well, I wouldn't say you missed. What I will ask you to do is once the live broadcast is ended, just go back and listen and watch the video again. Obioma has taken us she has taken us from the challenges, and she has told us the strategies and
Yay.
tools to use to engage, the opportunities available, and also what government should do, what private businesses should do for us to advance and promote sexual and reproductive health and rights and gender equality. Well, I wouldn't want to start to summarize because the live broadcast is already on the page. So please engage the page. If not, I will be taking more of our time. But one thing that stood out strongly for me is the issue of exclusion and the need for inclusion, and also for the need for resources to be made available, and the need for not just human resources but financial resources. Then you talked about something around intergenerational, I call it intergenerational mentoring. You talked about young persons. The speaking out is also an opportunity, and some successes that have been recorded so far. Then you talked about emerging groups that are now getting spaces to discuss, and people now engaging the process. Is not the way it used to be. Though we may not have gotten to where we are going to, but we are no longer where we used to be. And talking about cross-movement organizing, having helped by holding spaces where people can come out to express themselves, and that is giving space. And there is something I will not forget, no matter what, even if I forget everything you have said. You talked about without inclusion, without gender equality, the SDGs will not be achieved. And we are halfway through. This 2030 is not far away, it's by the corner.
Yeah.
So what will you watching us, what will you listening to us do going forward to ensure that the SDG is fully implemented? You can just start by telling people around you what the SDG is around. But one thing is, it starts with you. Try and try and try and do everything to ensure you advance sexual and reproductive health and rights and gender equality, even in your own family, because the family makes up the society. So when you start right from your family, it will now get to the community, then it now go to the larger society, and before you know, everybody will enjoy gender equality. And when everybody enjoy gender equality, then the society is better off for it. Whatever. Well, I won't leave you. We'll continue the conversation outside the Facebook, this broadcast podcast. But I want to say thank you very much for coming on the show, and I want to say, when we call on you again, please make yourself available for us to have further conversation and discussion around issues that borders on women in their diversity everywhere. Okay, so
All
thank
right.
you. I want to also
I'll
thank Vanessa. Vanessa is behind the scene. She's the go-to woman that has been making everything happen. Vanessa Trek, thank you very much for being there. And to everybody that joined, thank you very much. We'll take it up tomorrow with a new topic, with a new guest. Please stay tuned. You want to say something?
Yeah, I want to say thank you.
Yeah.
And I also want to say that my pronouns are they, them. I mean, saying she, her. But I am forgiving you because I know
Oh,
that it's a process. But I just want to
don't
state
worry.
it. You
It's even
deserve.
on my script.
It's
So
okay.
don't worry, we'll get it right. These are some of the things we are talking about. We'll get it right. Like yesterday, the one I had, we are talking about using language
language has a strong way of giving an identity. Don't worry, we'll get it right. Don't worry. Pardon me.
No
Shay, that
problem.
nobody is going to please pardon me.
No
So please
problem.
do well to also join us tomorrow. We'll take another topic as we engage the process in the high level political forum 2023. On this note, I want to say thank you to Obioma Chkwuike. Am I getting it
Yes.
right again?
Yes, you are.
Chkwuike, yeah. I remain Rachael Misan-Ruppee, the host of the podcast series. I will say bye bye and see you tomorrow.
Bye.